Hello everyone, welcome back to the video updates. It's Sade, and today we're going to discuss the federal level moratorium that's out there regarding evictions. And people are asking a lot of questions about evictions. The way that you approach it, if you know somebody that's facing potential eviction, is that they would have to look at the federal level to see if there are any protections there, and they'll also have to look at their state level to see whether there are any protections there as well. So in order to cover the federal level ones, I'm going to do a short video today. However, the state level ones you'll have to find out for yourself by talking to the tenant council in your area, and that's COUNCIL usually. And you can also reach out to the housing authority for that state, and they'll be able to give you more guidance on what's in place in your state. The Supreme Court of that state also would have an emergency order or some sort of order regarding eviction. So you could Google that. In today's video, I'm going to talk about the CDC's moratorium, because that seems to be very much a broad one that you can use in every state within the United States. And the CDC, of course, is the Centers for Disease Control, and they are an arm of the Department of Health and Human Services. Today's video will just give you a brief overview of what's out there. You'll have to pull up the document on CDC's website. So just Google CDC and you'll be able to go straight to their website. And this particular document that I'm discussing in this video, you should pull it up, and it's in different languages, so you should be able to find a copy that works. Now, the moratorium was put in place because of COVID. Back in September of 2020 was, I think, the first time that they put it out from the CDC, and it was September 4th of 2020, and that was to prevent further outbreak. So the whole purpose of CDC stepping up and saying stop evicting people is so that they can control the population spread of the COVID virus. So their goal is consistent with our goals, because we also want to be protected and we want to not further expose ourselves or other people. And the CDC then had put that moratorium in place. It expired. So this one that they just signed on January 31st is essentially an extension of the first one. And this particular one would last until March 31st. I believe they're going to extend it further. So what exactly can somebody do if the person is being evicted, and who qualifies under the CDC's moratorium? The moratorium, as I said, is quite blanket. So anybody that's facing eviction would qualify, whether it's an eviction from a landlord, an eviction from a lender who did a foreclosure on the home, or an eviction from a third-party buyer who purchased a foreclosed home, okay? So this one would work just in general. You should feel comfortable to look at it and see if it would help somebody out that you know. The evictions that we handle at our particular law firm are the ones related to foreclosures. So I don't handle the ones that are from landlord-tenant situations. If you have that kind of situation and you have very specific questions, I would suggest that you talk to a lawyer that's a landlord-tenant lawyer, because they have more experience than me. They've done this a lot of times, so they'll be able to tell you more about the different things that are in place. Remember, I said that there are state level protections as well. So the different states have been handling this differently. Some states had a moratorium for a little while, and then they don't have it anymore. And some still do, and some have it, but only in relation to the people that were behind on rent, not necessarily for any other types of situations that involve an eviction, because eviction could come up, as I said, as a result of a foreclosure, or sometimes just as a result of people having a squatter and they have to evict that squatter, and the squatter is refusing to leave, whether the squatter is your relative or a friend that's now become a burden. So those might not be covered under certain states' laws, but the CDC one actually covers everyone. So that means a squatter could use it, tenant could use it, homeowner could use it from stopping the lender from doing an eviction after foreclosure. And the definitions are on the CDC website, so you can check that out. And it's a broad definition as far as who it would apply to when it's the person that's trying to do the eviction. It could be just a broad range of parties and entities. So let's get to how somebody would qualify. Let's get to who qualifies, or what are the further qualifications that are needed. So the CDC makes this a declaration under penalty of perjury, and it lists quite a few questions that the person has to answer affirmatively to be able to get the protection of this moratorium. And I'm going to go through them one by one and just kind of give a little bit more information on what it would look like, but they're not asking for any supporting documents from whoever is using this declaration. They're just saying, if you say yes to every single question on the document or every single statement on the document, then you can use it. And it does not require a notarized signature. It just requires a regular signature, because they don't want to create additional hardship on people that don't have access to a notary, and at the same time are not able to afford a mobile notary, or just don't even want any kind of dealings with, outside parties because of the pandemic. So you don't have to do anything other than download it from the website, read through it, and make sure you can answer yes to every single question, and then you can sign it. So you can use this to help people out if you know anybody facing eviction. So the first declaration on there says that I have used my very best efforts to try to get government assistance with my rent or housing, and I done everything that I can. So the different types of housing that's available, or financial assistance for rent and housing, it's out there on the housing authority's website. So that means that the person that's using this kind of declaration that's put out by the CDC must have reached out to different government agencies to try to get help with the monetary aspects of rent or housing, or some kind of subsidy, or some help with relocation to safe and secure housing. And then they were unable to secure any kind of solution. So that's the first declaration. And the second declaration says specifically that I did not make more than $99,000 in 2020 as a single person, but if I'm filing jointly, that we did not make more than $198,000 as of 2020. That means your overall income for that year. And then the third declaration says that I have experienced some type of job loss, or reduced hours, reduced compensation, or that I've actually had to pay out an extraordinary amount of money for medical bills recently. And then the next declaration says that I've been making my best efforts to make payments on my rent, or whatever payment I was supposed to make, or at least partial payments, but I've been unable to do so after I had paid my non-discretionary expenses. And non-discretionary expenses, of course, are the basic needs, such as food, clothing, and shelter. And we're talking about food. Of course, everybody knows you have to eat. And then if you're talking about clothing, we're not talking about luxury items. We're just talking about the necessary things. Depending on the climate you're in, you might have needed a winter coat, and you had to get that instead of paying rent. So that's understandable. And then, of course, in terms of shelter, you have to pay utilities like electricity, water, and maybe gas. And so those kinds of things are considered the basic needs. And whatever money you have to spend, if you are the type of person that takes some medication, that will be non-discretionary expenses that you had to pay first, and that you made best efforts to pay your rent, but nothing was really left over after all those non-discretionary items. And then the declaration also says that if I do get evicted from my current place, that I'm most likely going to face homelessness, or I'm going to be forced to live in shared housing that would jeopardize my health, or, potentially expose me to consequences health-wise. So the whole reason CDC put it together is so that we don't spread the coronavirus. So it makes sense that you don't really want a lot of people in shared housing at this point until the coronavirus situation is under control fully. And then it does say further in the declaration that I understand that my rents are still going to be due, and that any kind of late penalties or fees that I've already agreed to inside any lease agreement or any other type of agreements will continue to accrue, and I will still be liable for those things. So if I say yes to everything inside the declaration, I sign it, and then I'm required to file it into that eviction lawsuit. So it doesn't matter if the lawsuit is already there, it's already been filed by the other party. It doesn't matter if they're just about to file it. So the declaration can be used for an existing eviction lawsuit. So you just have to file it into the case by sending the copy of the declaration signed to the court clerk, at the court that's handling the eviction case. And then you also send a copy of that document to the plaintiff, meaning the landlord or whoever it is that filed the lawsuit against you. And then you would automatically get a hold on that eviction case. The court will do nothing until after March 31st. Okay? And I do believe the CDC will be extending the moratorium, because if you look at the declaration document that they have on their website, the expiration date at the very top right-hand corner says May of 2021. So I do have a feeling that they will extend it again, especially because the virus is not really under control yet. It's still ongoing. So I think it'll be extended probably through the end of this year, to be honest with you. It's not a great situation for landlords. It's not a great situation for people that purchase property and are not able to move in and use the property. But we also have to protect, families that are in these kinds of situations as well. There's no great solution to it, but this declaration is out there if somebody needs it, and it's out there in different languages. The different housing authorities, they've translated it into different languages as well. So you could check with them if you need one that's not in English, that needs to be translated over. And the last thing I wanted to say is that with the evictions, if your state doesn't have a moratorium, then you could certainly use this one, because federal law still protects you. And your eviction court would definitely have to go by the federal law and allow time. And if it's extended again, all you have to do is go back and refile a new one showing the new end date. So this particular declaration shows the end date of March 31st, 2021. So hopefully this video has been helpful to you. If you have specific questions for evictions and things like that, remember to reach out to an attorney that does landlord-tenant law if it's a landlord-tenant situation. And if it's a foreclosure situation, then you'll have to reach out to a lawyer that does foreclosure defense, because they probably also do the eviction end of it, which is what we do, but we are in Texas, so each state has different laws as well. But this federal law, this federal moratorium, is going to apply to every state. So definitely feel free to share it with your friends, relatives, neighbors, whoever that's going through extraordinary hardship and might be able to use this. So thanks as always for watching, and I look forward to talking to you next time.